Hey, hello everybody. Just cleaning up my throwing area and putting some tools away, and trying to get ready for making some more logo mugs here pretty soon. Oh, logo mugs. I was doing these mugs for a local, well, not local, they're in the UK, but this company, and I made these logo mugs. I don't have any finished ones. These are the Bist. Anyway, you see the logo there. It's impressed in with a piece of clay and attached on with slip, and it's just a little, I'll go out here. It's just a little mug. Well, little, it's probably 8 or 12 ounces. 10 ounces? 10 ounce mug, something like that. And I glazed them with a Temeko on the outside and a copper red on the inside, and they seem to really like it. But what I wanted to share with you today was a firing experiment that I did 2 days ago. So in this little crucible kill, I did a very fast firing. I went up to cone 10, well really 11, in 4.5 hours. So here's the cone pack from that firing. Let me see if you can see that in. So this is 9 completely down, 10 is completely down, and 11 is touching. So in my mind, that kill, in this particular area anyway, which is about 3/4 up from the floor, got to cone 11, really. In 4.5 hours. I let the thing breathe. I just let the gas go. I didn't restrict it at all. I still got a slight reduction, and I just did it because I wanted to do something experiment. So here are the results, and I'll share them with you. One of the nicest results were that these teacups came out pretty well. This is Temeko on the inside and the outside, and then the lip is dipped just an inch up in white, and it does that nice little transparent drip effect, which I really like. And you see this is a stoneware with magnetite in it, heavy grog, and it is nice and toasty brown. So on this particular shelf, it did reduce, even though I just kind of let it go. I had barely any flames out of the top. And for the most part, all of the teacups like that all reduced well. It's nice and glossy black. It broke brown on certain areas. And then lower, this is Rutil. I'm sorry, this is a Rutil cup with white on the outside of the rim, iron on these chattering texture marks here, which it was really dark. It's with that reduction, with the oxidation, it just came out real light brown, and I actually think it's pretty nice, as opposed to, here's a cup that had the same amount of iron on it that went through a heavy reduction firing. You can see the difference with red and that celadon on the outside. So this was a heavy reduction, and this is almost a neutral. I don't think I'd call it oxidation because it's still reduced, but almost a neutral. And then this is what Rutil looks like. It's tan with a kind of a frosty white that melted down to the base. And it turned out, I don't think it turned out bad at all. I think it actually is pretty. It's a light colored bowl. But again, just my experiment firing in 4.5 hours. And all of them turned out pretty close to that. This one ended a little darker on the inside, but still a very light, this iron wash over the chattering, very light brown. So that's that. And then the very bottom shelf was the most interesting. So this was on the very bottom shelf. It's a bowl that Steve Bouton did recently, and he was copying a Warren McKenzie bowl, and you could see from the base, see it's a rounded bowl, and the rim is dropped. So when it sits, it sits on the table like, let me get the angle right, like that. That's the inside and that's the bottom. Anyway, so this was on the very bottom shelf. Iron chatter marks, still reduced some, because it's probably on the bottom, I still got a little reduction. The white turned out okay, although it's glossy, it has a weird, it's not a smooth texture. It's not rough, it's glossy, but it's got a texture to it. It's not flat, but glossy. Okay, so that was on the shelf. This was also on that same shelf. These little GP bowls, inspired by Simon Leach. He makes them, and I started making them too. I don't sell that many of them, but I still like making them. It's just a rolled rim and a no trim on the bottom, and they're small. This is made with 10 ounces of clay, I think. Yeah, 10 ounces of clay. And so they're pretty thin, but they have a nice robust rim. Anyway, and you just glaze them on the inside, and you fire them together like that. So you make sure there's no glaze on the lip of it. Anyway, if you want to see him make them, you can go look at one of his videos. But here's what happened with these. I don't know if you can see that. It bloated. That's a big bloat hole right there. I mean bloat. That one's bloated. This one, two or three marks. This one, oh, this one didn't bloat. But this one did. There's 3 bloat marks in it. This one, there's one right there. So you see what happened, they bloated. And so I think what happened was this clay body, which is a local guy who, it's a Laguna Rodsbod basically. And you can see the body did reduce some, but because it fired so fast, let me see if I can get a good example of a bloat. It's hard to see that. You probably see that in the shadows. Because it fired so fast, it wasn't able to burn out organic material, and it bloated. So inside there's a blister right inside the clay body. That's not on the glaze, that's like inside the clay. So that's something I learned, that with this particular clay body, it needs time to burn out. That's the bottom shelf, and that worked out okay. Now the top shelf was just a big exaggeration of what I've been experiencing. The top shelf doesn't get as hot as the other shelves in the kiln. So this was more of a tea bowl that I put on the top shelf. And I glazed it in the same way that I glazed that bowl. Middle shelf, top shelf. So the white didn't kind of go translucent because I don't think the white fully melted right. And the inside, the Temaku, is a little more brown. It's not bright black like, and so that was down below. So this was a bowl that was on the top shelf. This is Rootil, and this bowl from the same firing. This one on the top shelf, you see it's a matte finish. It's tan, not particularly attractive. And then lower, it's still tan, but it's glossy, not matte, and it's got a blue, interesting blue running hairs for whatever effect in the bottom. So there's that. So I know that happens up there. This was the kind of the big disappointing part. I made these olive oil jugs, and it's white over clay, a stoneware clay. This stoneware, look at it, like, I don't know, it didn't fire all the way up to temperature, so it was cool, and it didn't reduce at all because it was on the top shelf, so it probably you might even have gone over to oxidation, but the glaze didn't mature, and it didn't fully melt, and it's a very kind of blah matte finish. It didn't go translucent, so the brushwork that I did underneath it of an olive branch didn't come through very well. This one turned out the best, and it actually has a little bit of gloss to it, and you could see where the brushwork kind of came through a little bit better, but still, it's still not that great. Oh, yeah, see, there's the bottom of that one. It's kind of a little bit toasty brown, that one. Well, actually in the camera, it's so subtle. So, that was my experiment of firing 4.5 hour firing to cone 11. Again, recap. Cone 11, let me get it over here. Cone 11, that's 9, 10, and 11. So, I learned something. That's all I really wanted to do. You should experiment with your firings too. Well, I don't have to formulate this Temuku on the top. So this cup, if I get it, this cup was on the top shelf. It's Temuku. It matured fine. It's a dark black with a kind of a brown highlight in it, and it turned out really nice. So I just need to learn which glazes can go on the top shelf, and I think I could get my firings down by a couple of hours.